How is everybody today? Let's roll. We're gonna we're gonna rank some computer stuff. It's gonna be great. Okay, I'm sure everyone is familiar with this. Turn my light up a little bit. I'm sure everyone is familiar with this sort of tier list, but we've got about 22 mostly modern Apple hardware stuff that's all for sale today. And we're gonna go through them and rank them. And it's gonna be fun. So if you haven't joined one of these live streams on YouTube, I'm doing this year instead of Twitch. I like it a lot better so far. Ask questions, I'll be in the chat. Super chat works. So we're just gonna have a good time. And I think we're gonna start with some audio products. Let's start with the Airpods Max. They're a year old. Came out in December last year. Pretty expensive. Most people think they sound pretty okay for what they are, but again, pretty expensive. For me, I had a set. They didn't fit. I thought they were too heavy. So I think I'm gonna go. Middle of the pack. I think I'm gonna go C tier here. All right, people want to do the cleaning cloth. Cleaning cloth, of course, showed up with the Pro Display XDR a couple of years ago, and now it is being sold individually. It is back ordered until January, but clearly the most important Apple product maybe of our entire lifetime. So that's going to be right on top. So let's bring it down a notch. Okay. And looking through what currently Apple sells on their website, there's one product that really makes me sad. It's got a small screen. It's got an old processor. Talking iPod Touch. The iPod Touch, still for sale. A couple different colors, a couple different size capacities. We recently got our oldest son one. And, you know, I gotta say, it was painful to buy it. We wanted something a little bit more portable, and y'all, it's pretty bad. So, D or E? E is like truly abysmal. It's not truly abysmal, but it's pretty bad. Let's go with D. Do with D. All right. We all know what happened to the HomePod. They sold it for a while. They quit selling it. All of them died. 2 out of my 3 have died. The HomePod Mini, though, pretty good. It's maybe it's a little too expensive, I think, for what it is. But this year, Apple announced that in addition to the white and black, they were going to have colors. The orange one in particular is awesome. I think all the colors look good. So the HomePod Mini, I'm going to give it a B. Siri is really what holds this off from being an A-list, I think. If Siri were better, or maybe if the sound quality was a little bit better, it would go a little higher for me. But I will say, HomePod Mini, probably a pretty okay gift. Again, it's a little expensive, but you can get it on sale somewhere. Probably a pretty good gift for somebody who's in the Apple ecosystem. And it comes in orange. Okay. Let's talk Apple Watch. And we got to talk about the Apple Watch SE. It was announced last year as sort of this like go-between, and it's too expensive. I think Apple kind of made the wrong cut of features, and that's a bit of a bummer. So the Apple Watch SE for me is going to go with a C, I think. It's a decent Apple Watch, again, if you can find it on sale. But if you can't, don't pay full price for an Apple Watch SE. And look, I was gonna put an Apple Watch Series 3 on here, but you know, it's the holidays, and I didn't want to curse on stream or cry on stream, but we all know Series 3, it wouldn't even be on this list. It's too far down to even register on this tier list. Okay, up next, let's go to a Mac. How about that? Let's go with the MacBook Air. The M1 is a year old, has incredible battery life, but it is a little behind right now. Doesn't have MagSafe. The design is from 2018. The MacBook Air is still the default Mac, and if you buy one or get one this holiday season, it's honestly pretty good. I think it's actually a really good computer. I think it's the default Mac for most people. But as a moment in time, in December 2021, I feel like the MacBook Air has a big year ahead of it. So I'm going to put this as an A. I think it could be S tier. I mean, in a year without the cleaning cloth, I think it would be. And if we didn't kind of assume that some new features may be coming to it next year. Oh, we all are saying it's a B? All right, I could go with a B. I'll go with the wisdom of the crowd here. So that A slot is still empty. I know what we can put in the A slot, though. Hands down, my favorite iPad, the current iPad Mini. I haven't even touched my iPad Pro since the Mini showed up. I know people have some complaints about the screen, and I get that. I don't actually see the jelly scrolling. I don't care about ProMotion. It gets bright enough for me. I love the iPad Mini. Jason Snell's outraged. That's okay, Jason. You have your own channel for this sort of thing. But in my heart, the iPad Mini is a real winner. Okay. Let's, y'all want to do a Mac next? We got a bunch of Macs left. We got some accessories. Let's do a Mac. Let's do the 27-inch iMac. This got a really fantastic update, but it is it's an Intel Mac, and now halfway through the journey to Apple Silicon, it's kind of hard to really justify buying the 27-inch iMac. Now, if you have something that you need an Intel machine for, I get it. But the Intel Mac Mini is still around. So again, I said iPod Pro, I meant iPad Pro. Everybody calm down. Keep your pants on. iPad Pro. The 27-inch iMac, though, in this current state, it's really hard to recommend it. I think it may be the bottom of the list, to be honest with you. So it pains me, but Apple really needs to replace that thing. Okay. Now let's talk about a computer that is a lot better than the 27-inch iMac, and that is the M1 iMac. Comes in a bunch of colors. They all look fantastic. Not the biggest selection of ports, but as a consumer machine, it's probably okay for most people. Y'all, I love the new iMac. So you know what? I got to go with my heart, and it's a solid A. I think Apple did something really cool when they redesigned it around Apple Silicon. I think it kind of paves the way, really paves the way forward for what we could see in the other iMacs. I'm a big fan. I think it's really, I think they've really got something special. So, people asking about the 21-inch iMac. It is no longer for sale. So, good riddance. Okay, let's talk about the Apple TV. The Apple TV is sort of a mixed bag, right? It's way too expensive for what it is. I mean, Apple is competing against things like the Roku and the Chromecast and all of Amazon stuff. And they're asking a real premium that I don't think the Apple TV demands. But at the same time, they fix the remote. Right. Fix the remote. The remote's great. But I think taken on the whole, the Apple TV is just a bit of a miss. And I think in the competitive landscape, it just doesn't really make sense. Now, I have an Apple TV. I've got the 4K. But if it went away, I could do everything I wanted to do, including AirPlay, because my TV natively supports AirPlay, and the Apple TV service is everywhere. I could replace the Apple TV with almost anything else on the market. So I would give it a D, but I think the remote pulls it up to a C for me. If it had the old remote, it'd be a D. Okay. So coming down the list here. Let's talk the new AirPods. The AirPods 3, just pretty new. They may be the newest thing on this list. I like the AirPods 2 a lot. A lot. I think a lot of people do. It's great that they shortened the stems, but they changed the fit in the ear. And for a lot of people, where the AirPods 2 fit really well, the 3s may not fit as well. But also the other end is true, right? People who the 2s didn't fit, maybe the 3s fit better. You can still get the AirPods 2. They're still around. The 3s to me just really feel like a stepping stone to the Pros in a lot of ways. But over the AirPods 2, they are a nice update. I'm really torn on this one because personally I don't like them. They don't fit well for me. But I think they're going to be pretty successful, even though they are a little bit more expensive than the AirPods 2 used to be. But they come with the MagSafe charger. A lot of trade-offs with the AirPods 3. I think I'm going to go with a B. I think the popularity of the AirPods pulls this up one level for me. All right, the regular plain iPad. It's super cheap, $329, even less if you're a school. It's the, by now, extremely classic iPad design. Been the same form factor for years and years and years. It's behind on some stuff, but again, it's cheap. If you have kids, this is the iPad to get them. If you have a family member who just wants an iPad for like internet browsing and FaceTime, this is the iPad to get them. It does support the keyboard and the pencil, but the old versions of both. It's better than nothing. I think the regular iPad is a C. I think for people like us who are really into this stuff, it's a miss. But I think out in the regular world, Apple says this is the best-selling iPad they make. So we'll kind of split the difference between the public and our opinion and go with a C. Okay, let's talk about AirTags. There's a story right now, it's a really ridiculous story that like 5 extra cars were stolen someplace in Canada because of AirTags. And of course it went all over the place. I really like AirTags. I've got one in my keys. I have one in my car. I'm not taking it out of the truck because some Canadian cars got stolen. Like, I'm not worried about that. A couple things about AirTags I don't like. One, it's really dumb that I can't trust someone else's AirTag permanently. I understand that from like the privacy and security perspective, but like in my case, if I take my wife's keys somewhere, I'm getting alerts that someone else's AirTag's on me. It's like, well, we've been married 15 years. Like, I'm not worried about her AirTag tracking me. I wish there was a way that I could bless an AirTag that belongs to somebody else not to alert me. There are some settings in Find My, but they don't seem to stick. They don't really do what I want to do. But the number of times a month I use AirTags to find something, my keys, I got one in my backpack. The AirTags are pretty great. And I think as travel opens up for people, AirTags are really going to kind of come into their own. So I'm judging AirTags, not Find My. So just AirTags, I'm going to give them an A. Really am a big fan. And again, if you're shopping and someone's in the Apple ecosystem, like just pick up a single AirTag and drop it in their stocking. It's a great idea. So people talk about other trackers. Well, Apple's not selling, the AirTag business to a company that's selling all your data. So forget Tile, whatever else. AirTags, I think, win from the privacy perspective as well. Okay, we got a bunch of phones left. So let's do some phones. Let's do the iPhone 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max. So 13 Pro Max, it's my daily carry. I love the iPhone 13 Pro, love the Pro Max. It's great. I mean, it's the best iPhone I've ever used. It's the best iPhone I've ever owned. The Pro line in particular is what we're looking at, though. The colors are bad. They need more options. I think the Sierra Blue is fine, but like, I don't know what Apple's color strategy is this year. It's madness. And it's $1,000. So it can be a lot more, actually. But the camera system is incredible. The screen is great. It's not S tier. But I think the 13 Pro is, I think it's an A tier phone. I think it's great. I do turn off ProMotion because it makes me sick to my stomach. So whatever. Who cares? Hey, thank you, Bennett. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Got to support the Mac man and his family. Thank you. So I'm going to give the 13 Pro, I'm going to give it an A tier. But let's go right into the iPhone 13. 13 Mini and 13. Again, a really nice update, especially if you're coming from an older phone. The future of the Mini is uncertain, but again, we're doing this today as like a snapshot in time in December of 2021. So who knows what the future of the 13 Mini holds. One thing I really like about the 13 line that I actually like more than the 13 Pro is I prefer the aluminum sides. The stainless steel sides look nice, but they add a lot of weight and they're super fingerprint happy. I actually think the industrial design of the 13 is a little bit friendlier and it's a little bit nicer. So I'm gonna set it right next to its sibling at an A tier. Apple's always on its iPhone game. Again, I do think the color, like I don't know really what they're doing there. Starlight, they're fine. But I think like the XR had the best colors of a recent iPhone, and I think the whole palette this year is just a little more muted than what I personally like. But there's no doubt that it's a great phone. Okay, so let's talk about some more Macs. Let's talk about the Intel Mac Mini. So you have the M1 Mac Mini, and then above it in the line we have the Intel. Still for sale, it's in space gray. It's that machine that came out in 2018 that we were all so enthusiastic about. Sort of the return of the Mac Mini. It's still for sale. I choose to look at this as a very hopeful thing that we will see maybe an M1 Pro Mac Mini, maybe this spring. I think it's also good that there's still a cheap Intel Mac. Again, if your workflow needs it. The 27-inch iMac is just really hard to forgive at the moment. But I think the Intel Mac Mini is going to be one above that at a D tier. Again, don't buy an Intel Mac. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. But if you have to, get the cheapest one you can, and that would be a Mac Mini. So we'll give it a D. So we're down to just, 6 left. Let's talk about the other Intel Mac, the 2019 Mac Pro. Don't buy this computer. Don't buy any Intel Mac if you can help it. We don't know what the future of the Mac Pro holds. like every year, every time there's a cycle. We're like, well, what is the future of the Mac Pro? Well, I don't know. Mac Mini is obviously prohibitively expensive for most people. It's overkill for most uses, and you shouldn't be saving your pennies for one at this point. But for what it is, it's the high point of the Intel Mac era, right? It's the best Intel Mac, maybe the second best Intel Mac. I actually think the best Intel Mac ever made was the iMac Pro. I think the Mac Pro is second. And I think it's, I love it. But again, this current date and time, the Mac Pro has to go here. And that image does have a Mac Pro and an XDR next to it. I then pulled out the Pro Display XDR separately because Casey Liss's very dramatic bemoaning of his display. Don't buy a used display from a friend. It's the lesson Casey's learning. The Pro Display is fine in a vacuum, but in reality, it just points to the fact of there's nothing in the middle. There's no reasonable Apple external display. And that's a real bummer. The Pro Display does work better than any other display on the market. If you're on the Mac, obviously it's one cable for everything. I saw somebody on Twitter the other day complaining that, it doesn't have speakers or a microphone or a camera. That is a benefit to this display, I think, because you can bring your own and use exactly what you want. And I think that's totally fine. It also means the bezels are really, really tiny, and there's not a notch. But it's $6,000, and you have to buy a separate stand, which is really painful. So I think I'm going to put the Pro Display, I think it's a D. I think the cost really hurts it. I think also the fact that the new MacBook Pros have ProMotion, and they're using mini LED. The technology in the Pro Display XDR feels like it's gotten old really quick. That's a shame when you spent $6,000 on something. I think it has a very long useful lifetime. So there's that. Bennett, if you don't put the new MacBook Pros at S, I might cry. Well, let's do the new MacBook Pros next. So the new MacBook Pros, so good. Brought all the ports back. Performance is incredible. Jason in his review says like having a Mac Pro in your backpack. I agree. I'm lumping the 14 and 16 together because you can spec them the same. And I think right next to the cleaning cloth, I think the new MacBook Pros are a total win. Total home run. I don't know if you can actually have two S-tier things because I'm not young enough to know all the ins and outs of the memes, but we're going to put it next to the cleaning cloth. All right, 3 left. iPad Pro, AirPods Pro, and the Apple Watch Series 7. The iPad Pro got the M1. Of course, it has the keyboard with the trackpad. It has the Apple Pencil. My problem with the iPad Pro in particular is that Apple continues to hold back this device with its software. iPadOS is not a serious operating system in the way that macOS is for a lot of different types of work. I'm not saying it's not good, right? Don't go off Federico on me. But there's so much power in the iPad Pro, and it is just hamstrung by iPadOS and the software that developers either can or choose to write for iPadOS, and that is on Apple. I am not saying that the iPad Pro should run macOS, but there are things that the iPad Pro would be fully capable of doing. Things like having automation tools always running. It's so great on the Mac that you can have, this collection of shortcuts and Keyboard Maestro and Better Touch Tool and Text Expander, and they're all running all the time. and they're all available to you everywhere through the menu bar. Well, the iPad Pro is just as powerful as these new M1 Max, but they don't expose that sort of functionality. And I don't care about that on the iPad Mini or on the regular no additive iPad, but on a machine that costs $1,000 that you're calling Pro, it's a bit of a bummer. I really think there was room for software differences across the iPads, and they haven't done it. And so the iPad Pro, the hardware is great, but the software, I think, continues to let the iPad down. And this is not new. It's been the case for a long time. So I'm going to give the iPad Pro, I'm going to give it a B. I think if you're into the iPad lifestyle, it's obviously the best iPad ever. But if you want more out of it, it's just really, really frustrating. Okay, 2 more. The Apple Watch Series 7 and the AirPods Pro. Let's go with AirPods Pro, really popular. A lot of people like the fit. A lot of people like noise canceling. It has MagSafe now. They've been around for a little while. One big problem with these is the rattling. So a lot of people have had like multiple pairs of AirPods Pro be replaced by Apple because they slowly die, which is not fantastic. But Apple's playing in this world of high-end earbuds, and the AirPods Pro go, lockstep with a lot of those other options. So let's go with the AirPods Pro. Let's go with the B. Okay, Apple Watch Series 7, a very dramatic entrance into the world. Lots of rumors that it was going to be squared off, right? We all saw those renders all year. Apple went the other way. It's actually kind of more rounded than the old one, but it's in line with the previous Apple Watches. A lot of people found that disappointing. Myself, I also kind of got swept away in the dream of like a really boxy, kind of modern-looking Apple Watch. Maybe it'll come at some point, but the Apple Watch Series 7, design aside, not a huge update. If you're coming from a Series 4 or 5, it's great. Series 6 to 7 is pretty small. But the Apple Watch Series 7, it's kind of a slower year for the Apple Watch. So I'm going to give it a B as well. It's the best smartwatch on the market. I don't think there's much denying that. I think this particular iteration of it is just a little bit of a bummer in some ways. I think that keeps it off the A list. One thing I will say, the fast charging is nice, but I continue to be impressed that Apple has kept band compatibility since the very beginning. I think that's really, really cool. And I hope they continue it as long as they can. Honestly, I'm way more impressed with that than I ever thought I would be. Yes, people saying AirPods Pro does have a repair program. That's true, but you're still like dragging your AirPods into an Apple store every 18 months, and that's a bummer. So I hope they resolve that in a future edition. Maybe it already is resolved in hardware, like maybe they had a silent revision we don't know about. But that does ding the AirPods Pro because they do have a reliability issue. So that's the tier list. Probably some things on here you agree with, probably some things you disagree with. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And it's YouTube, so do the YouTube things. I'd love a thumbs up, a like, that'd mean a lot. Get subscribed. The next video is going to be a review of a wireless CarPlay dongle I bought that I'm going to put in my truck. So that will be, that'll be, I think, next week. And also have a studio tour coming up because the studio is twice as big as it used to be. So they're going to be doing that as well. So thank you all. I hope you guys have a great holiday season, and I'll see you soon. Bye, y'all.